All right, yeah. Take it away, and I'm gonna eat my omelet. It's been sitting here.
Oh, okay.
Let's you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked a lot about AI last week, so I don't want to delve too far into it. And this is a visual bit, but I think I've solved the problem with not being able to cast Will Smith in anything after the famous slap.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the AI generated Will Smith eating spaghetti?
No.
Okay, so someone has AI generated Will Smith eating spaghetti.
Oh my god.
I like the part where there's two Will Smiths and it kind of looks like he's nuzzling the other one's head.
I don't think I found that. Oh yeah. Oh my god.
And I like this sort of like generic, like classical Two Girls One Cup style music that they have playing over top of it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just
Two Wills, one spaghetti.
Two Wills, one spaghetti. I think this could solve a lot of problems in Hollywood, where maybe someone's unfortunately no longer with us.
Could AI generate a Harvey Weinstein to get those those producer cred? I don't know. But he's digital, so he can't sexually assault anybody. And
yeah.
The AI no. That's where we reach humanity's downfall. Is we make an AI Harvey Weinstein that becomes self-aware and uses it to just...
He's doing it again.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. It is episode 93 of There Will Be Duds, and I am your co-host TJ, aka J Spot Jack Cheese, and with me
as always, I'm Nick, aka Dr. Funk on Twitch. I have a cat on me.
And as always, we watched a movie. The movie this week being Jackie Brown from 1997. What is it? Quentin and Tarantino by Wright and Directino or whatever.
Yes.
It is about a few characters, but the title character is a flight attendant who smuggles money for a gun dealer, and she kind of gets caught by the police and sort of wrapped up in this double, triple cross plot where she's like, she tells the gun dealer that she's gonna smuggle in the rest of his money and tell the police that she's helping them out, and then she tells the police that she's actually gonna trick the gun dealer into getting arrested, but she's also has her own plan where she's gonna get the money herself, and she's gonna double cross both of the sides, and yeah, that's more or less it. That's the culmination. There's little relationshipy. It's very, there's a lot of scenes where it's just people talking like a Tarantino movie does. So
yeah,
there's a lot of that. I'm surprised you don't really, except for the opening credits, you don't see Jackie for the first 30-40 minutes of this movie. It's just really strange. Didn't really expect that. So yeah, this was no, because I still haven't seen Pulp Fiction. But other than that, this and Pulp Fiction are the only Tarantino movies I have not seen yet.
Which is funny because I think Pulp Fiction and this are... Pulp Fiction I feel like is his most popular, and this is his least popular.
Yeah.
Which, again, not least popular in terms of quality, but the least viewed one.
That would be Death Proof.
And the quality, you mean?
Yeah, I mean that's my least favorite.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Friend of the show, Chris Wade, did a Quentin Tarantino ranking after he watched this movie. I looked at his Letterboxd review. He had Death Proof at second or third.
There's some people who love it, I think if the style or the way that it works for you, I think you'll love it. But it's just, I don't know. I'm curious to watch it again. That's the only one you haven't seen.
Yeah, to the point where like I almost don't even, because it was part of that Grindhouse series, right?
Yeah.
Where like I don't know, in my mind I've never like perceived it as a Tarantino movie, I guess.
Well, if it changes your mind, he does. I mean, like he puts it in the same, like he doesn't differentiate between.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll have to check it out then.
Because I mean, really, if you like, a lot of his movies kind of ape a 70s 80s throwback style, anyways.
Yeah.
So it's only like a slightly heightened version of Jackie
Something
Brown or something like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking of that, I mean, I think Jackie Brown is the only movie in his library that is a adaptation of a book.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because I think everything else he's done, I mean, it's Quentin Tarantino, so really everything is an adaptation of something in a lot of ways. His work is, very derivative, which it's kind of funny. A little aside, Chloe hadn't seen Reservoir Dogs, and so we watched that last night before Jackie Brown. And
nice.
there's a scene where I think it's right after Mr. Orange kind of rehearses his story and he's trying to like kind of get in with the guys.
Yeah.
He's in a car with Joe, Mr. White, Mr. Pink, and him, and they're talking about some TV show, and they mention, oh no, that she's played by Pam Grier.
Oh so yeah, yeah.
So there's like a direct reference to Pam Grier in Reservoir Dogs, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Because like 2 movies later, he works with her. Because she was, I think, in the 70s, she was big in like those sort of like blaxploitation, kind of semi-erotic crime, movies of the 70s. Those pulpy movies that Quentin Tarantino would have grown up watching.
Yeah, she was Foxy Brown, which I think is like that was like a pretty big one. I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is kind of a. I mean, I think even the name is probably Jackie Brown. Foxy Brown is kind of
it's
because the character's name I looked is Jackie Burke in the book. So I mean, it's similar, but I feel like maybe he changed that to make it a little more kind of in line with that.
It's got a little more pizzazz to it, also, like Jackie Brown.
Yeah,
like, there's like that scene where she's like at Ordell's place, and she like buzzes the intercom. She's like, Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
So I guess as the other of the one of the 2 of his that you haven't seen, so you kind of don't have that, like you saw it younger, maybe when you were more.
Again, though, I should state that I feel like I have seen 90% of Pulp Fiction in bits and bobs.
Sure.
So it's not that I'm
I've
like
seen Star Wars, so
yeah, it's not that I like have no idea of what
the plot
I will think of, or like what I think my takeaway on Pulp Fiction will be, but yeah.
I was curious about your read on this one because I like this one a lot.
I thought it was pretty mid.
I had a feeling in my mind I was like,
I hate when like I'll watch a movie and it's kind of exactly what I was expecting, because then it's like, oh no, I'm just playing into my preconceived notions. But it's like, well, I mean, that's the AI part of my brain, like predicting what my my opinions are gonna be. It's like, well, I mean, it's my brain. I guess I know what I like and don't like, but I was like, I feel like this is gonna be, like if in my ranking, it's probably Death Proof and then this one. But I will say there's a jump, right? Like I actively dislike Death Proof, and this was just like okay. And then like you go another notch above this, and that's like your Django Unchained and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So yeah. There was elements that I really liked, and I feel like if it was shorter, it felt like I don't think it justified its length, especially when you get to the part, and we can get into this later because I feel like kind of the climax and how that works is maybe a larger discussion. But yeah, the whole, the bag swapping bit at the
Yeah.
shopping mall, and they like do it like from everybody's perspective. It felt unnecessary to me. And again, I can talk about that later. But there were bits that I liked. Like I loved Robert Forster. I thought he was adorable in this movie. I loved his crush
I think that's,
on Pam Grier.
That's what makes it so strong to me is all of that shit where him walking around in the store buying Delphonics tapes.
Yeah,
you know?
it's actually really cute. I really like their relationship. But it's bogged down by, like I mentioned, it's like a half an hour before you even see Jackie Brown after his opening credits. And I know that this is a Tarantino thing. Like I said, I know he likes to just have people talk, but it's like, the thing is and why some movies don't work as well for me is like, if I don't connect with the characters, if I don't like the characters, I don't really care about seeing them talk about fucking chicks with guns for 20 minutes. And I didn't really like Samuel L. Jackson's character that much. I like Robert De Niro's pretty good, but it was mostly Samuel L. Jackson doing the heavy lifting in those scenes. And it felt really prolonged. It felt unnecessarily prolonged for, like, you know, the setup of him getting Chris Tucker out and then killing him, and that kind of being the setup for, like, oh, this guy disappeared and now we gotta target Jackie Brown. Now what are you gonna do to get out of it, sort of thing. So yeah, just a lot of, you know, that's the big thing with Death Proof is I hate the characters, and it's just talking, and it's just you're sitting there with these people that you hate. And the nice thing is that, like, a lot of them die, and that's pretty cool. But
sure, that's a Kurt Russell one, yeah.
Yeah, Kurt Russell's awesome in it. No, he's awesome.
Oh, okay.
But he's
everyone
not
else around.
He's not the one that you see doing the talk. Like, he does have scenes. Sure. But mostly it's the other characters that it focuses on, because he's the bad guy or whatever. So
yeah, I mean I guess I don't know. I don't think I watch movies in that way. Weirdly enough, like if I have to have like a connection to a character in order to like
I don't
like
always
them or dislike them. Yeah,
I think it just plays such a heavy part into Tarantino movies specifically because like I said, like. I think Tarantino loves all of his characters, and he really likes to just sit with them.
He thinks they're all cool, and like everything that they say is so worthwhile.
Yeah,
which like
and that's what I mean with it being like, not every movie is this case, but yeah, Tarantino's kind of one
which
is
kind of weird because we watched Reservoir Dogs, and I almost kind of had that feeling with that movie where it's it's like 92. Some of it's like, I guess, a little dated. It's pretty racist. It's a pretty racist movie. Yeah. I forgot how liberally they just like Tim Roth, Steve Buscemi, everyone, it's N-words flying everywhere. Chris Penn.
I mean,
and I was like, ooh,
it's Tarantino's favorite word. I mean,
yeah, it sure is. Yeah, I mean, I will say I think the Ordell character is a little one note. He's very much like a Quentin Tarantino character where he's like, I'm motherfucking this and I'm motherfucking that. And it's like, it's like, all right, yeah, you're doing the Pulp Fiction thing, because it's almost like that's exactly kind of how he talks in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, his character in Pulp Fiction is like cooler, but
and
like
more like morally ambiguous. He's not just like a bad guy.
Yeah, Ordell is just like a piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even necessarily like. I'm not saying that like I resonate with the guys in Reservoir Dogs, because they're all like,
they're also all pieces of shit.
Yeah, or they have these like weird like idiosyncrasies or whatever. But so it's not an across the board thing either, because I love Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Which another little tidbit: the cop in Reservoir Dogs who gets his ear cut off.
Yeah.
One of his early roles, I think it's actually after this movie, after Reservoir Dogs, but in Coffee and Cigarettes, which is pre-Hard 8.
Yeah,
Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
The short film.
Yeah.
He plays the John C. Reilly character.
Oh, interesting.
the cop.
Yeah.
So that was a weird little connection there. I like Robert De Niro's character a lot. I feel like that's a role you don't see him play that often.
Yeah.
Especially in that era where it's like you got like Goodfellas, you got Heat. I guess Heat's a little bit later, but that's Robert De Niro's like peak cool guy phase of like I'm a smooth talking gangster, and to give him like a handlebar mustache and like just the scene where he's like trying to put the phone away and he's like so obviously baked, like Ordell's like trying to like get explain to him how the plan's gonna work, and he's just like fiddling with the phone. He's like yeah like seeing him in that type of role is I really like it. Just like
he
a
was
stoner
funny.
loser idiot.
Yeah, and
he just shoots her in the parking lot.
Yeah,
it's like she just she wouldn't shut up. It's like you could just hit her.
Yeah,
like,
that was.
I guess I could.
I was gonna mention that. That was my. Well, that was the part that was the funniest part of the movie to me. It was him like explaining because he's just so like I don't know. He's like I shot her, and then he's like how many times did you shoot her? And he's like 2. He's like where'd you shoot her? And he's like one in the chest, one in the stomach. Like just whatever about it.
You shot Melanie?
Twice. In the parking lot.
You couldn't talk to her?
Well, how can you talk to her?
You couldn't just hit her?
Maybe, but at that moment, I don't know.
You shot her twice? Is she dead?
I pretty much.
Yeah, that was good. I will say something that did sing Tarantino, because it felt more it felt and maybe this is like it's still early Tarantino. He did Pulp Fiction, and that's like the Tarantino style, but like maybe this is early on enough in his career where it's not like every movie he comes out with now is like a Tarantino movie, and this just kind of feels like a movie. It's not like injected with his style as much as his other movies, I think, but you do get the calling card really early on, because there's like 3 or 4 just gratuitous shots of Bridget Fonda's feet. Yeah. And oh man, just knowing, being aware of it, it just makes me feel so icky. It's just it's so like it takes me out of the scene so much.
They're like one thing that I think I didn't notice in other viewings that I noticed this viewing is like they're all sitting there watching like the Chicks with Guns tape, and he puts his like whiskey glass down, and she like touches the rim of the glass with her pinky toe and like, looks at it, and he like gives her a look like, and he like grabs he picks his glass up, because I mean I guess it does sort of lead into them having sex, which is like I think that's kind of what she's trying to be flirty.
Yeah, I guess,
but it is a
point
gratuitous Quentin Tarantino, just so watching that with hindsight, you're like, yep, great, thank you. Again, that's another really funny Robert De Niro line, is like it's like 3 minutes later and they're like having sex. She's like, she's like, that was fun. He's like, yeah, that really hit the spot.
This is just a little bit. I think it was when and there was a couple weird like scene ending thing, like just scenes would just kind of end, but there was one especially weird one, and it's when Ordell goes near the beginning-ish, Jackie's out of prison, he goes to her apartment to kill her, but then she has the gun, and she's like, oh no, I have my plan instead. And then he's like, okay, what's the plan? And then the scene fades out, and then it fades in, and then they're at the door, and he's like, okay, see you later, and then it fades back out again. It's such a weird decision. And I get that it's like, oh, you'll hear the plan later sort of thing, but it could have just cut. Yeah. It was just very weird.
Yeah, you could have cut to something else.
Yeah. This is a little minor nitpick.
Because that's like they kind of do that like side by side thing where Robert Forster realizes that his gun's gone. And you're like, oh shit, what's she gonna do?
That was kind of cool. Like, there's some like of those Tarantino choices that were cool. I did like that. I actually kind of wish they did more of that kind of thing. Actually, maybe that's how they could have resolved the. And now I guess we can get into the whole climax thing with the bag exchange. She like goes to the clothing room because she tells the cops that she's going to do the exchange in the food court, but she tells Odell that she's going to do it in the clothing room, in the dressing room or whatever. So Bridget Fonda meets her there. She gives her like the wrong bag. I don't know. There's bags change hands or whatever. And then you get it from Jackie's perspective, you get it from Robert De Niro's perspective, and you get it from Robert Forster's perspective. I think that's it. I think it's just those three. And I wonder if maybe it would have been better if they had just done the split screen thing, because I'll tell you my thing with the climax is that like by separating it in that way, it sets it up to be like, oh, but when you get the last one, you're gonna get the real twist of it is gonna be revealed. It reminded me of Ocean's 11, how those movies are, how like the steals are. Have you seen those? You probably seen. No, you haven't. Oh,
no.
So the way that those are structured is because like those are all like double, triple, quadruple cross,
so many
big
layers
heist.
Of like. But you did this, but I slipped this into that, and then no, you got the decoy, and then that decoy is another decoy. Yeah,
and the climaxes are structured in like the same way usually, where it's like you get it from this perspective, and like, oh no, if you see it this way, it looks like they lost or they messed up and they didn't do it. But then it's like you get it from a different perspective, and it's like, oh shit, that's what actually happened. And this one, it just felt underwhelming. It was just like, oh, she just left the bag there and then he got it. It just maybe I was like setting myself up for too much, but I think with it being broken up that way, it kind of like each new angle to the story, I was like ramping up my expectations more and more, where like if it had just done that kind of like split screen thing, maybe it would have been better. It would have been more fluid, and it would have been like you would have gotten all the information. I think, I don't know.
I wonder if that's also him coming off the heels of Pulp Fiction, which is, very much praised for that non-linear storytelling where like you learn.
I thought of that too,
contextually, because like
that's how all of his movies are. He's very like Christopher Nolan in that way, where like they love telling stuff out of sequence. And I was waiting for that with that movie. I was like, this is a very linear movie for Tarantino.
And I think it also is because that it's a book adaptation. I don't know. It's not his source material, and I wonder if that plays a factor in it. And he's like, all right,
it's true.
I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of that in there. And the payoff is Robert Forster's like, oh, I think my wife left a bag of towels in there. So he goes in and he grabs them, and like he walks off. I was like, okay. The Billingsley clerk is Heather Graham's sister.
Oh, really?
The woman on the phone. It's like, I think her name's like Amy Graham. But I was like, she looks familiar. It's because she's Heather Graham's sister.
Okay, interesting.
I did like the I don't know. I think the music in this movie rules. But the one of the
he's usually pretty pretty good at that.
There's like the practice, like the trial run in the food court, and the music when Robert Forster's watching Simone take the third bag and walk away, and like the music kicked in for that scene. I don't know. I really like that one. That's how it should have felt. Like when they did the bag switch at the end with like the three different perspectives. Because that music kicks in, and Robert Forster, you get to like he's kind of tracking her, and like Robert Forster's a great facial actor in this. I feel like he gives a lot of looks, and he has a very subtle. He gives like a very subtle smirk when that happens, like as he realizes like the the double triple layer of it. So it's like I feel like that could have been like that climactic scene, much more style and pizzazz. But yeah, it was very I think my wife left some stuff in there. Like it goes off without a hitch. except for I guess Melanie getting capped in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Lewis, where did you park?
That's just being really fucking annoying.
Is that? And then I feel like even Michael Keaton does like a Robert De Niro face when like they're because like obviously like it doesn't go according to the FBI's plan, but like when they have Jackie in the interrogation room, there's like a part where Michael Keaton's like, "You're trying to tell me," but he's doing the got like the which I like those two guys quite a bit too. I thought the buddy cop Michael Bowen and Michael Keaton were fun. But I just like Michael Bowen as like a character actor because he's you know, Buck in Kill Bill. He's like Stanley's dad in Magnolia. Every time I see him show up in something, he plays a really good slime ball, even when he's like supposed to be a good guy. Like I mean, if you want to call the feds in this case good guys, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
I
quote
mean,
Reservoir Dogs,
plays like...
you kill any cops? Yeah. So no real people died.
It was kind of funny seeing Sid Haig as a judge because I just associate him with like Rob Zombie movies where he plays like psychopaths or whatever.
Oh.
And also, something I noticed when Jackie buzzes Odell's room, the name above Melanie's is S. Haig. So I don't know why, but they just had a little nod to him.
Might be a little Easter egg.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know if he was also in like maybe he was in like, you know, those obscure grindhousey 70s movies that. Oh, he was in Foxy Brown. Okay. So he did do those kind of. So maybe that's why
that's gotta be it.
So I was like, why does Sid Haig get a little special shout out there? But yeah, that probably is part of it, at least. Yeah.
He's in Kill Bill Volume 2 as well. We're hitting Wikipedia. I did like the way that they mirrored the opening sequence with her like going on the gate and then like her walking into the mall, like that same type of shot. I liked a lot of the close-ups too, especially like during Robert Forster and Jackie Brown like talking to each other. There's like I don't know. Again, I think that's really the driving force of this movie and what makes me love it so much. There's like the scene where they're in, it's like, I think it's like the morning after, like her and Odell kind of like come to their arrangement. You know, basically she avoids being killed by him. He comes over and I feel like it's intentional, but she says something like, "Oh, you know, do you want any coffee?" He's like, "Yeah, if you're having some." She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you know, I don't have any sugar. You'll have to take it black." And he's like, "Black's fine." And then she's like talking about her age, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you know, got a big ass." And he's like, "Nothing wrong with that."
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, you know, him listening to like the Delphonics in his car, like kind of singing along to it, trying to learn it.
Yeah, I feel like that character played by someone else, or just, I don't know, played differently. Like his character could have come off as just like really creepy, you know?
Yeah.
In the way that he's, but yeah, he plays it so like with like a sweetness that just you know, it's not creepy, you know. It's just it's
yeah,
cute.
It's almost
and
like
she obviously reciprocates the feelings eventually, but yeah,
and it's kind of a I don't know. I think Robert Forster is just like, he's kind of a stoic dude. So like it's like unexpected, and that's what makes it sweet.
Yeah,
like,
right.
He's kind of has like a hardened look on his face.
He doesn't do. Yeah, he's not usually like a romantic lead.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
character.
Which I think is what makes like their ending, you know, bit so bittersweet when they finally do embrace. And like you can almost see him just being like, because he kind of walks out of focus, and he just
You see
he
him
does
like
one of these.
Yeah,
he's like, why did I do that?
yeah.
It's,
Well,
it's
yeah, 'cause
it's a very bittersweet ending.
Yeah, I think the timing there and the editing is really key because like he has to hang up the phone because I think he's gonna go run out there and say like, oh wait a minute, but then like right as he's doing that, she drives off, and it's like right as he's ending the conversation, he's like, fuck, it was just a little too late. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I do like that it has that ambiguous ending, or I guess semi-ambiguous, but still in my head I'm like, yeah, they get together eventually though.
Yeah,
I love even when I'm like when a movie ends with like an ambiguous ending, I'm like, yeah, that's probably the best way to end it. In my head I'll always go with like the optimistic ending, the happy ending.
But they eventually reconnect.
Yeah.
Because there's like that scene where he's talking about like retiring from like the bail bonds industry, and he's just like, I was sitting in this guy's house for a couple hours. And I'm like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm 56. I got to get out of this business.
It's like, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, but if you don't have anything else, I'm good to move on to scores.
The only other note I had was that I'll send you a picture if you don't know the reference, but there's like later on Samuel Jackson like has his hair down and he doesn't have it in like a ponytail or anything, and I thought he well, just do a Google image search. it'd be easier because you get multiple. But all I could think of was Station from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Guess they didn't say it.
Oh yeah, it's like the same color and everything. Yeah, it was an interesting choice for his for his character. Oh, that's pretty good. That was the other line that made me laugh. Was I don't know if it's the same scene when he had his hair down, when he's like talking to Sharonda, and she's just like cracked out on the couch.
Yeah,
and he's just like, bitch, how do you live like this? He's like, this shit is repugnant.
Yeah,
I felt bad for her because like that's the girl that he's just like, yeah, she showed up, she's from Georgia, and I told her Compton was Hollywood, and she believed me, and it's like she's clearly like nervous to meet Jackie, and it's like, yeah, I feel bad for Sharonda.
Yeah,
it's like that's the vicious cycle that you don't really see in these like crime movies. You don't see like the normies who
The other, I guess, little trivia tidbit note is that so the characters of Melanie, Odell, and Lewis were in another Elmore Leonard book previous to Rum Punch, and that was adapted into a movie in 2011 called Life of Crime, and they're played by Lewis is John Hawkes, Melanie is Isla Fisher, and then Odell is Mos Def. And I think I remember hearing good things about it. So I don't know, maybe I'll check it out now, now that I know that that's an Elmore Leonard story too.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's supposed to. Well, obviously, because those guys are younger than. Well, I mean, relative to when these movies came out, maybe they weren't too much younger. No, they probably were. But it's supposed to take place like before. Well, obviously before Jackie Brown, but like I think like a while before, because it's like before they go to jail or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
So, but yeah. So who's first?
What was last week? The Departed. I don't know who went first.
I think I'm first.
Okay.
And I think I'm gonna settle on a 5. I'm not sure though. It's between a 5 and a 6 somewhere. But I'm just gonna settle on a 5.
Okay.
There was enough things in it for me to like not go like lower than that I liked. But like I said, it was just there was also a lot in it. You know, it's a 5 because, you know, I liked half of it. I guess we'll say that, you know. But it's just there was a lot of it that I just didn't care for. A lot of those like long scenes with people that or you know, just like discussions that I just wasn't really gelling with. Yeah, the story was kind of hit or miss for me overall. But it had some really good elements. I really liked the romance subplot bit. I liked those two characters. There were some funny bits too, you know. Robert De Niro's pretty good. But yeah, so 5. It's not the worst Tarantino. But it's kind of right around what I was expecting. So
okay.
Yeah.
I am at an 8. I really liked it. I've seen it a few times. We actually watched it not too long ago, but I watched it again in preparation for this. And I think it's nice to see a more restrained Tarantino in a way, where it's not just bombastic, you know, guns and violence and shit just popping off everywhere.
Yeah.
I do think it works like that because it is an adaptation of someone else's story, which from what I've read of the story, it's fairly accurate. Although in the story, I think Lewis is still a convict who gets out, but I think he works for Max Cherry. But I think he's like a shitty worker. I think that's kind of like the connection there. But yeah, it was a weird role for Robert De Niro, which I always love, seeing that. He's not like, The Rock, where he has to play cool badasses every time. He can play bumbling morons. The Samuel L. Jackson character is a little one note. He's a little like, I'm in a Quentin Tarantino movie and I know it. So it's like, I would say that's like, a weaker element. But I think what really makes this movie is just how adorable Robert Forster and Jackie Brown are. And I feel like romance in Tarantino movies isn't that common. Like, I think it's like there as an element. Like maybe Kill Bill is the most romantic he's gotten.
Or Bruce. I mean, I could be wrong about this, but Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction, doesn't he? There's like a sort of love interest with like the French girl or whatever. Maybe she's not French. I could be wrong about that part. This is my knowledge. This is what I mean with Pulp Fiction. I'm like, I know that there's like a thing. I know she has like a bowl cut and she looks French.
Yeah.
So I could just be being
there's
racist.
There's a pretty cute scene with them like in the hotel room.
Yeah.
In a bed, and she's like talking about how she wishes she had a pot, she's like a slightly round stomach. She's like, oh, pots are sexy, kind of thing. And they're just kind of it's like cute dialogue. They're kind of having like pillow talky kind of stuff. But I think yeah. But this
is there any romance
in
like Inglourious Basterds or
the romance of killing Hitler?
yeah.
But the romance is great. Robert Forster really like sells this movie for me, and I think overall the story's pretty fun, albeit pretty simple by Tarantino standards. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's different enough to like kind of set it apart from all the other things, and I think it's worth a watch at least. So I'm at an 8.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I don't know if I'm ever gonna like watch it again, but I don't like regret watching it by any means. And like it sounds like I kind of feel similar to you. It's just I think I needed the ratio to be more in favor of the Robert Forster and Pam Grier stuff for me to like enjoy it more, Yeah.
Yeah. Even the ending was kind of like I think a little too neat of a bow, where
the FBI
you think that comes out and
that part. Okay, yeah. I thought you meant like
where they're like he's like, oh, he's got a gun, and then they just take him out, and there's like and maybe it's because we did just watch Reservoir Dogs, which ends with like one of the bloodiest Mexican standoffs and everybody dies.
Yeah, that's true. You do normally expect like all his movies to end like always in like bloodbaths.
I mean particularly like Django Unchained when he's like, say goodbye to Sister Sarah, and she like gets like sucked into the room almost.
Yeah. Or, again, Inglourious Basterds, like, pulping Hitler.
Yeah,
and,
this is like a it's like a clearly a prosthetic face, and they're just like
yeah,
it's just riddled with holes. Yeah.
yeah. Or
But I guess that's not like the true ending is their bittersweet romance, which I guess that works. But yeah, the climax of Ordell's character is just like, oh, okay, he's dead now.
yeah, yeah. I would say like the antithesis to this would be like the ending of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where it's just like it goes so it's like that movie is like not really about crime or anything. It's just like it's just actors, and then it just goes like it goes like to 300% at the end. Like just
you just hear her like throughout the entire thing. She's just like ah!
The girl screaming or whatever.
Yeah. That's another one I have to revisit.
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters.
Oh,
but,
nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of revisiting, here's an ad break. Oh, speaking of, are we back?
Yeah, I'm thinking we're back.
Yeah, that reminds me. I watched all the John Wicks. It was Tuesday. I didn't work because I wasn't feeling good this week. It's actually I feel like it's like coming back, which is why I may have been a little extra coffee this episode. Cough, not coffee, but you know what I mean.
Little John Coffee, yeah.
So Tuesday, I watched the first John Wick because it's like, oh, the fourth one is coming out this week. It's coming out on Friday. And so I was like, okay, I'll watch this one, and then I was like, I'll watch 2 tomorrow, and then the third one on Thursday, and then I'll go see the fourth one on Friday. And then like I finished that, and then I was like, oh man, I kind of just want to watch the next one. So then I started the second one, and then I like when that one was ending, I was like getting curious, and I checked like when the show times were for it, and I was like, I was wrong. The movie was already out. It came out last week. The fourth one came out last week. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then on Tuesdays, the theater does their $5 movie tickets. And I was like, I have just enough time to watch the third one and then go see the fourth one. So I watched all 4 movies on Tuesday. And you know what? Not bad. It wasn't a bad decision. I think the third one I was starting to be a little like it was harder for me to focus.
With those types of movies, I feel like it's really hard to like you ramp up the violence and style so much that it's like how do you hit those soaring heights repeatedly and like really change the form and subvert expectations, and how do you keep that momentum going?
Yeah, it's funny because like it's the first one is like it's a pretty grounded action movie that has this it has a lot of lore behind it. Have you seen the first one?
I've seen the first 2.
You've seen the first 2, okay. So the first one, it's like a fairly grounded action movie, pretty basic, just revenge. He wants to kill these guys because they killed his dog and stole his car.
Yeah.
But you get all this cool like lore dump of this underground criminal world, and that's what I love. That's what really hooked me on that first John Wick movie. It's the action, and then like the world building is just fantastic. And the second one is also like that. It gets a little more heightened with like where it goes. That's
one where they're like having the silencer gunfight like in the train station.
I forgot about that. Okay,
where he's just like they're walking and they're like pew.
I was
no one notices.
Laughing out loud at that. I was laughing out loud at that scene. So that was like you're like
okay,
at the movie.
All right.
It was a little ridiculous. But then you get like the really tense like knife fight on the train between those two, and like that's good.
Yeah.
But the silencer part's a little ridiculous. But I mean, with like the plot and where it goes, it's like it's still like fairly grounded, just a little bit more kind of wacky, but you get more of the world building. They introduce the markers and how like those things work. So they introduce more of those things. The first one has the coins. They have the gold coins, and that's like their currency and all that stuff. They mention the high table of like the boss people of the underworld. And then the third one is where I think it really starts to go into like fantasy land, like to where it's almost like 3 and 4 are almost like they could just they could be set on fucking Coruscant from Star Wars. Like they get so silly and wacky. And the third one does kind of like lose me. I just don't think it's well, I think that I realize my issue with it is that it's the only in between movie that there is. The first one tells a complete story, and it kind of ends with like, I mean, the first one I think was made to be like, you know, this is just going to be a one-off, and then they were like, oh, it's super successful, let's make a sequel. So the first one is its own story. The second one tells its contained story, but then it has a cliffhanger of like, oh, he broke the rules and now everybody's after him. The third one is just it's in between the second one and the fourth one. So the second one sets up the cliffhanger, and the fourth one resolves that. The third one is really just in between, and I think that's maybe why it's a little lower to me. But the action is still fantastic. There's still some characters that I really like.
And very famously, Keanu Reeves is like putting his whole ass into like the stunts and the action. Like there's videos of him on like gun ranges where he's like, you know, doing like tactical roles and shooting targets, and like he's really doing it as much as he can.
Yeah, that part I really appreciate about the movies. But
and it's funny that like basically ever since the first John Wick movie, he has not like cut his hair for a role.
Yeah, like
he's still like he did the Bill and Ted movie. He did the Matrix.
Resurrections.
Resurrections.
Yeah,
some R word. But it's like he still has this, like he looks like John Wick. Even like the Cyberpunk 2077, same thing. Where it's just like he's like, yeah, this is me now. This is my style. Like I'm just permanently John Wick. And like you know, I'm not a I like, you know, the first movies I really liked, but it is funny that I see John Wick almost as like one of those movies that like the audience maybe is a little like guys who were really upset when Paul Walker died.
Like that's okay. I think it's like we were upset.
No, I'm talking about like the type of dudes that's like, I'm gonna share a black and white photo of Keanu Reeves on Facebook with some quote about like, you know, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and those who know me best are, you know, just that kind of guy. Like buying like an airbrush T-shirt at a mall and like a small town white rapper. I feel like that's like a big demo of this movie, which it's still really fun and smart. But like,
I think what you're saying is like it appeals to like it definitely appeals to like a wide range of people. It appeals to people who just like, you know, dumb action movies, and like it works if you like that. But then also if you're into, you know, the actual craft of the stunts, the action,
exactly,
and like the story, which is, I mean, good on them, really. If a movie can do,
it's just,
you know, do it all, why not?
It's just funny to see. Like, I don't know, I have a couple people in mind that I know that are like, you know, pushing 40, still living in their mom's basement, sharing like misattributed Keanu Reeves quotes on Facebook. And I know they're like the first in line to see these movies.
Okay. But anyways, the fourth one, the new one, the one that'll get us the SEO or whatever, was really good. I think it was an improvement from the third one. A lot of people are saying it's like the best, and it's still like it's really hard to compare it to, especially the first one, because it's so off the rails now. But I'm glad that like, I was worried after 3 that like, oh man, if do I just not like it because it's too ridiculous now? But I would say 4 is like the most ridiculous, but it just works. It worked better for me.
Okay.
There's you know, they always have like such a like great cast too. There's always, like a lot of people, and it's always like people that I like. Namely in this one, Donnie fucking Yen. Donnie Yen is fucking awesome. I usually like him in like anything that I see him in. He's probably most known for Ip Man. It's like a Chinese like martial arts trilogy.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm seeing that now.
But he's been in a handful of like English speaking things too.
Yeah.
But he plays this blind assassin who's like set on. He's hired by Bill Skarsgård, who's like the main antagonist.
Okay.
He's hired by him to kill John Wick. I mean, everybody else is trying to kill John Wick too, but like he's like the best, and he's it's so cool just seeing this guy like float through every scene that he does. Like there's this scene, I think it's the first one where it might not be might be the first scene where you see him like actually fighting, and it's like in a kitchen, and he's blind, so he has a cane, he has his sunglasses on, and he sets up these like sound alarms like around the kitchen that like beep if people pass by it, and it's so like he just like glides along the floor just like taking these dudes out, and like he's he's incredible. The way that dude moves is just it's incredible.
He plays a blind guy in Rogue One as well.
I immediately thought of that. I thought
that's funny because like,
interesting.
I saw that years ago, but I was like, wait, there was a blind guy in that one too,
yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
And Lawrence Fishburne's in this one too.
Yep. Yeah, he doesn't play like a major role, but yeah, he's in it.
Yeah, I think that's also part of the appeal. Is like it's nice to see Keanu and Lawrence Fishburne like back together.
Yeah.
In like that capacity, especially because he wasn't in the Matrix Resurrections, which was kind of a bummer. Mm-hmm. So it's nice. It's nice to see them together.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. It's there's just. I mean, I think anybody who likes the John Wick series is gonna watch it anyways. But it could be my favorite. I don't know, but it could be like a recency thing. The first one is just so like it's so. I know it's
iconic.
It's not really fair to be like, oh well, it's the first one, so it's the best. But it kind of is like, because I just think again the introducing that world building is just so fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I mean to the point where like we parodied it in post-mortem.
Yeah.
Like the pencil scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched those two together and I'm like, oh, we kind of nailed that.
Yeah.
Like Travis hitting the bottom of the thing with like the hammer and pulling the briefcase out. I was like, oh shit, we kind of knew exactly what we were doing there.
So, something I really liked in the second one is like the first thing you see, because it picks up like right after the first one ends, because it starts with him like getting his car back, because that's like he didn't ever get his car back in the first one, so he finally gets that back, and then he returns home, and like the first thing he does, well I think, or no, maybe he does that in the first one. So the first thing he does is he like goes down to that hole in his basement and he like reseals it, and like you see him like mix the cement and like pay it down. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like I mean it wasn't necessary, but I was like, oh, that's not something that a movie would normally show, and I just was like, it's kind of cool.
He's like, oh yeah, I guess I got to take care of this. I have a huge hole in my basement now.
Yeah.
Oh, this is also rest in peace Lance Reddick.
Yeah.
Is this his last movie?
No, so there's a spin-off movie about like a different character, and he's in that one, and that one comes out next year, I think, and that might be his last movie. I will say it does kind of like wrap up the story. Like they are making another one, I guess, now, but I think that they were kind of also making this one as like a possible ending, and it does feel like that, where like it is a good way to end it, where it's like, okay, if this is the last one, it works as like a definitive ending. But then if they make another one, you're like, okay, you there's definitely a window for them to kind of weasel out of like where they end the story here. But just a lot of like silly like comic book fucking characters, basically. There's this dude Scott Adkins who's like a martial arts fighter. He's also in like some martial arts movies, but he plays this like he wears like a fat suit and he plays this like Russian gangster with like gold teeth and stuff, but he does like spinning kicks into John Wick and stuff, and like it's great. And then you have like the Donnie Yen playing the blind guy. There's another dude who's really good who like he has a dog and like he uses the dog to like help him fight and stuff.
I thought you were talking about like grabbing the dog. And
No.
John Wick's like, no, how dare you? You know how I feel about dogs.
And I will say like the ending, like I would say like the climax, but it's funny like the ending thing is like it's a very like quiet. It's not like a big action scene. It's like very like slow paced and like a quiet kind of ending. But everything ramping up to that is just like action scene, action scene, action scene. It's like 3 or 4 in a row, and they're all fantastic. There's one in particular where it's basically they do like a Hotline Miami sequence, and it's fucking awesome. Like the camera, he like runs into this room, and the camera's in front of him,
this.
and then it floats above, and it's like a top down view, and it floats from like room to room and like tracks him. It's fucking cool.
I think I saw someone on Twitter talking about that, because I think there's another martial arts movie that does that as well. Because I think obviously everyone saw that and they were like, oh yeah, it's like Hotline Miami. But I think there's like another movie that is actually the basis for Hotline Miami, or like it's one that like maybe inspired it. But either way, I feel like that's very uncommon. Like that's a cool way to like do an action set piece is like fully top view. That's cool.
I wonder if it's like, I feel like it maybe like the Protector, or I wonder if they do that in the Raid. The Raid has some really cool camera work too. And the Protector too has some really cool like floaty, but it's been a while since I've seen those, both of those, so I'm not totally sure.
That's awesome though.
Yeah. Just awesome cinematography, just awesome like filmmaking, stunt work, cinematography, choreography. It's all like firing on all cylinders in this series. It's if it's not my favorite movie of the series, it's my favorite action, like my favorite fight scenes to watch.
I gotcha. Movie.
Yeah. So,
okay.
John Wick.
Sweet. Well, okay, so you didn't watch the episode, so we can be pretty brief about it. Succession is back. I was thinking about doing a I was almost thinking about doing a solo one for this, but I don't think I have time to just try to talk about Succession for 30 minutes. I've done like one solo podcast before, and it was tough.
Like one.
Like I would basically say
one episode.
Yeah, with like my old podcast, I did like I think I talked about a Zappa album, which I had a lot to say, but it was literally like record for like a minute and a half,
stop,
cut it down a little bit, stop, think about what I'm going to say next, record for another minute and a half. It was just a very arduous process, so I don't think I'm going to be doing that with Succession. But maybe, if you do watch it, we can discuss the finale, because it is the series.
I'll try to
the last season.
I'll try to be caught up in it. Yeah.
But the first episode wasn't like bombastic. It wasn't crazy. Obviously, like coming off the heels of, the big betrayal from season 3 with Tom. It's kind of like what is everyone up to after that?
The upteenth big betrayal.
And I think that's been like my main criticism of the show, is like it's kind of very cyclical in that way, where it's like we set up the chess pieces, they make a few moves, and then someone comes in and just like takes their arm and moves all the chess pieces off, and then they reset and they make a few moves. This feels more like final, and I hope that now they can like, okay, you're going to sell the company.
Right.
Let's actually do it this time.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Oh man.
And I do feel like it is setting that up, but
What if the movie just ended just like any other season? Just exactly the same.
The real ending is the Roy kids and their dad just in a constant state of, selling and buying and selling and buying and fighting and all that kind of shit. There were some really, really funny Greg lines. Some really cool. I don't know. I won't spoil too much for you because I think if you're gonna watch it, but there is like a scene where Greg is telling Tom that he's nicknamed them the Disgusting Brothers. And Tom is just like, yeah, sure, all right. But there's like a few like stingers from Logan to Greg that is just like, I couldn't believe it. It was so good.
Cool.
So I mean, the sense of humor is there. I'm curious with some of the stuff that they're going to explore, because obviously like Shiv knows that Tom like basically called in the hit to like cut them out, so they couldn't usurp him. And you near the end of like the first episode of the new season, you kind of have like a little bit of a scene between Tom and Shiv, and Sarah Snook is actually like I feel like she's a good character that you kind of hate, just in like her phony like liberalism, her phony like I think that's like
her. I hate her character. And I hope that Tom dumps her.
She's pretty good in this episode.
Yeah.
There's starting to be
like in the
some
show, the actress. Yeah.
She's a Olivia Soprano type almost, where it's just like she's done so well, but like you hate her. Maybe not Olivia Soprano, a Skylar White. Like I feel like I feel like it sucks that I feel like it's always like women characters who this is like sort of thrusted upon.
Yeah.
I don't think you're far enough in The Sopranos where you met Janice, Tony's sister.
I watched one episode.
I thought you guys were watching more of it.
Nope.
But Tony's sister shows up, and she's like a main figure in like the rest of the show, and she is a character that if you do watch it, you will hate her so much. But she's good. She's so good at like playing that type of character.
I'll give you a male one. When I just watched, I just finished the first season of The White Lotus last night. And the
Shane.
Yes.
Oh
man, I fucking hated him. I hated his stupid fucking face, and every time
his little mouth,
and his dumb like super thick eye like brow line, and every time a character said that he was hot, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And oh god.
But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. I read somewhere that there's like a scene coming up in like the third episode that's like a 30-minute uncut like one take scene. I guess Sarah Snook in an interview was like, yeah, there's a scene coming up that's like 30 minutes like one take. I don't know if it's gonna be like a boardroom. People are speculating it's like a boardroom scene maybe, but it'd be cool if they kind of had one of just out of nowhere had like a Paul Thomas Anderson just like camera tracking around like Waystar, like following, like we follow Sarah Snook and then she diverts off and then we catch up with Logan and he's but I'm excited for the rest of the season to see where it goes. It's one of those things, it's one of those shows where I'm kind of in a way glad that it's ending, because then it turns into just
spiral.
Yeah, which I was almost gonna it seems like the John Wick movies are doing pretty good, but those definitely seem like movies that, like, if it keeps going, I could see it, like, turning into just a complete caricature of itself, and it's like knowing when to end it.
That was the third movie where I'm like, okay, they're kind of not much is changing, but then the fourth one, like I said, just does kind of like work as an ending if you choose that. So
yeah. Sometimes good things come to an end, and that's okay.
Yeah. The real trick is knowing when to do it. I think that's why those, like the Vince Gilligan ones, work so well. It's because like they knew when to end it. And that's why like I do kind of find myself geared towards like miniseries a lot more, because if it's just one season, it's like it's not gonna do that because it's just the one.
That's what's nice about The White Lotus too, and especially because it's like an anthology.
Right,
it's kind of like an anthology thing where it's just like in the grand scope of things, it's like the White Lotus is a resort, but there are multiple resorts, so they can go anywhere and kind of tell that story. But it's not like we're going season to season with the same people, except for like Jennifer Coolidge.
Yeah. Yeah.
With like the slowest line reads of the century.
Yeah.
I don't know. Very breathy.
Yeah. Okay. We have a movie next week.
Yes.
And it's one I have mentioned a few times.
Okay.
And I'm excited. I think you'll be excited for it too.
Okay. Okay.
Even though I'm not sure how you feel about it. Anyways,
okay.
Cutting to the chase.
Yes. Yeah. Hit me with it.
From 1975, I kind of scribbled it. Directed by Orson Welles. We're gonna watch F for Fake.
No. Okay, I am excited because literally I've only seen Citizen Kane from Orson Welles. That's the only movie of his that I've. And is F for Fake is his last one?
No.
I mean, he did. I know he did voice work for Transformers.
You mean like his last directed one?
Yeah.
No, I want to say it was because there was one that he did and was like never completed because he died before it was finished. It's called what is
Day
it?
the Clown Cried.
The wind beneath our wings. It's not that, but it's something with like kind of a long name like that.
Okay.
And the Magnificent Ambersons was before this. Yeah, so it was not his last one, but it was a later one, and also very different from it's a pseudo documentary sort of thing, so it'll be a lot different from,
one that I think was like, from what I've read, it was like panned critically when it came out, and I think now people are like, oh, this is like a satirical work of genius.
Or
it's like it's been reevaluated, I think, where it's like, oh no, we just weren't ready for that one yet.
Yeah. So yeah, and this one is on HBO Max.
Oh, nice.
It's also on Apple TV for rent, but yeah. So watch it, one of those, if you don't want to be spoiled for it. It'll be a hard one to really spoil anyways. Watch it one of those before next week's episode. These episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on Spotify and on YouTube and Twitch in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So give us a follow there if you like. Give us a like if you like. Who's that? Is that the Needle Drop? I think that's it. I was kind of falling into that sort of cadence.
Did you like it? Did you hate it?
Yeah. What would you rate it?
Yeah. Yeah, there you
You're
go.
the best. You're the best.
Yeah.
There will be duds forever.
Yes.
Yes.
It's never gonna stop.
With all that said, I am your cute little Bond man. What is he called? Bond guy. Bondsman. Just
I think.
Who likes big booties? I don't know. Bondsman.
Nothing wrong with that.
Big booty bondsman. TJ, aka J Spot Jack Cheesin' with me as always.
As always, I am. I'm trying to remember anything from Robert De Niro's character. That episode, it hit the spot. Nick, aka Dr. Funk on Twitch.